dealer for great deals on the 2014 model. By Verizon, introducing Verizon Fios Quantum TV, redefining what TV can be. That's powerful. By Toyota, the annual clearance event is going on now. Toyota, let's go places. By the New York Lottery, hey, you never know. By Nissan, get to Nissan's bottom line event today. Shop ChooseNissan.com. And by Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin'. You can follow every Mets game with MLB.com at bat on your favorite mobile phone or tablet. Get live look-ins, instant replays, scores, stats, audio, free MLB.tv game of the day, and more. Download on the App Store or visit Mets.com today. Keys to the game brought to you by your Tri-State Kia retailers. An Emmy theme, my friends.
It's a very Emmy theme. The Emmys are Monday here. Homeland. The Dodgers, well, you can see that right there. They're banging up the Mets. And a Big Bang Theory. I've never seen that show. I hear it's terrific. 4 leadoff home runs this season. True Detective. Wow. 6-1. DeGrom back on the mound. Let's go 7-1.
Sheldon, you are not. Hollywood Walk of Fame. Mets trying to find some fame in L.A. First pitch coming up from Dodger Stadium. Dodgers are only 2 games over 500 at home this year, which is kind of curious. They played much better on the road. Toyota starting lineup for the Mets, brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Same lineup as last night, just flip Lagares and Dendecker in the batting order. No night off for Wilmer Flores after his dreadful night in the field last night. Terry Collins said, I need to have him get past that and get him right back in the lineup again today, and so he is.
And there's the veteran Zach Greinke, one of the best pitchers in the game. 7 years with Kansas City, a year and a half with Milwaukee, half a year with the Angels, and now has found a home here in Dodgertown.
Curtis Granderson led off last night's game with a home run. He takes the first pitch of this one outside, and we're underway. Granderson's leadoff home run last night against Dan Herron was the Mets' only run until the 9th inning. His 4th leadoff home run of the season and the 28th of his career. In fact, only one hitter in the major leagues this year has more leadoff home runs than Granderson, and that's Carlos Gomez, who has 5 for Milwaukee. Granderson, Murphy, and Wright trying to get the Mets started. Mets scored in the first inning last night for the first time in 11 games, something they had been doing with much more regularity earlier in the year. Greinke behind 2-0, and he misses high, and he's behind 3-0.
Well, here's last night's leadoff home run as Herron got off to a real shaky start. Granderson taking advantage, but Herron righted the ship. pretty much shut the Mets down the rest of the way.
There's Granderson's 16th of the year and his first in nearly a month, so we'll see if that can get him going. There's Herron, who was at his best last night in what has been an up and down year for him. 3-1 to Granderson leading off. And Greinke fires, and Granderson lifts one to right. The sun field with this early start, and Matt Kemp shading his eyes and puts it away for the first out. We're starting an hour earlier tonight, so plenty of sun out in right field.
Well, we'll take a look at the defense, brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car insurance. Ethier gets the call in center field. Not a great center fielder, but better than Matt Kemp, who used to patrol there. And I'm not going to pronounce the shortstop. Miguel Rojas gets to start at third base.
Well, there you see that sun in right field,
yes,
which will be a factor for the first couple of innings. Kemp will have to contend with that, so will Granderson. Daniel Murphy takes low and away for ball one.
Well, you can see the shadows in right field. It's going to be the line drive. The sun's low on the western horizon, so the line drive is going to be the most difficult. The fly ball is going to get above the sun.
Murphy 1 for 4 last night, and Greinke for the second straight batter falls behind 2-0. Murphy at 299 for the year, just outside the top 10 in batting in the National League.
One of the greatest parks to play in, folks. Chavez Ravine. Do they still call it Chavez Ravine?
Well, this is Chavez Ravine.
Yeah.
The ravine, what's left of it, is out beyond the outfield fence. We saw people running through the ravine. That's tapped toward the hole, and Murphy's got himself a 1-out hit. So Murphy finds the 5.5 hole for his 156th hit of the season.
Beautiful setting in the background, the mountains, the little hills in front, in the foreground. I cannot tell you, folks. I hit so well here because I really think the workplace.
Zach Greinke wandering off the mound after a visit from his catcher Buterin. I'm not sure if anything's bothering him, but it's certainly worth keeping an eye on.
Yes.
Greinke was supposed to start on Thursday, had the start pushed back because of some elbow soreness, and no move from the Dodger dugout. So whatever it is that's concerning him certainly has not drawn their attention, at least not yet. Here's Wright, who was 1 for 4 last night, and he takes at the knees for a strike. C.B. Buckner, the home plate umpire, so stay loose.
I'm going to watch him very carefully. It's Big Don. Don gets my vote for Hall of Fame. He had some great seasons, boy, I tell you. Looks like Greinke is kind of something's different. I wonder if he's got some discomfort.
What's interesting about looking at Greinke's numbers is that his last start against Milwaukee, when he supposedly was battling some elbow soreness, he had his highest fastball velocity of the season. He was 93.3 average fastball velocity. For the year, he's 91.7. So that doesn't quite figure for a guy whose elbow is bothering him.
Real quick home. Not a whole lot going on there. Very, very basic. He's not a drop and drive, that's for sure. But he gets it done. He's got great stuff.
Right chops one to short. Should be a double play. Arroe Barrena. That's the pronunciation. 6-6-3 double play. And that'll do it for the Mets. 20th double play grounded into by David Wright this year. And the Mets are quickly done in the first. Jacob deGrom takes the mound when we come back to Dodger Stadium. A lot of changes for Don Mattingly's team tonight. Carl Crawford gets the start in left field. Drew Butera behind the plate. Miguel Rojas at third base. Andre Ethier, who did not start last night, will be in center field. And Jacob deGrom, for the first time in 16 days, is on the mound.
And that was a start against the Cubbies. Oh, I'm sorry, Washington. That was a no decision. 6 innings, 3 runs. It was a game where he labored a bit, but he really showed me something. It's easy to go out there and pitch when everything's going your way. But this guy, he's had a couple starts where things haven't been there, and he fights through it. That's a good sign.
Dee Gordon will lead off for L.A. and 3 hits last night, including his 11th triple of the year. And DeGrom's first fastball missed somewhere for ball 1. Gordon with 142 hits. That's 7th in the league. Leading the league in steals, leading in triples. He's had a phenomenal year.
Had a big night last night.
And with Gordon and Crawford hitting 1-2 in the batting order, that is a lot of speed right at the beginning of the Dodger lineup.
It's nice to see something that a lot of teams don't have today. A lot of the old American League boring base at a time 3-run home run baseball. You can have it.
Gordon slashes one foul. DeGrom throwing at 96.
That looks like he's pain-free.
Well, I think the issue with Jacob was a mild one. He didn't feel it in his last start. You look at the numbers on Gordon in his 3-hit games. 97 from DeGrom, and Gordon gets a piece of it. I think that what DeGrom felt was a little soreness in his shoulder between starts. It didn't bother him in his last start against Washington, he says. And after taking 4 or 5 days off from throwing, it hasn't bothered him again. Gordon keeps fouling away good fastballs by DeGrom and stays alive.
May have to come inside on Gordon. He's just kind of flicking that ball away to keep staying the at bat. Go in there and force the issue. He's not a home run hitter. 2 home runs on the year.
Again, the 1-2 from DeGrom, and he checks his swing, but he went around well too far. And Gordon is a strikeout victim to start DeGrom's night.
Well, they stayed away, and the ball ran away, and they know better than me. And we'll look at the Geico defense, the Met defense. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car insurance. Dendecker, Lagares, and Granderson. That's the lineup there in the outfield. And it's the same group. It's just every day. It's the same 8. They're going to play here pretty much. Flores at shortstop.
Carl Crawford, who did not play last night against the left-hander, he's been red hot with the bat. Crawford hitting .459 over his last 9 games. Now 33 years old. Came over in that big deal with the Red Sox last year.
Doesn't walk. Only 12 walks on the season, but doesn't strike out. Only 42 strikeouts.
Don Mattingly's had a problem from day one this year. It's been a pleasant problem, but one he's had to deal with virtually every day, and that is how to take 4 high-priced outfielders and squeeze them into 3 spots. At the beginning of the year, he had Kemp in center, then he had Ethier in center. Lately, he's had Puig in center. He's giving Puig a day off today. 1-2 to Crawford, and he lifts one to left. Dendecker is there to play it. And that's the second out. Who's Hot brought to you by Time Warner Cable. Enjoy better. And Jacob deGrom, with the interruption notwithstanding, has certainly been hot. Last 9 starts, 6-1, 1.82 ERA. He had his long homerless streak snapped in his last start. He had gone 67 1/3 innings without allowing a home run, which is a Mets rookie record. But he's kept the ball in the park. He's thrown strikes. He's gotten out of jams. He has thrust himself into the Rookie of the Year conversation and just had an unexpected, outstanding rookie year.
Well, I think he's come back strong. He's fresh right now after missing the 2 starts. He's throwing hard, and he keeps the ball down. That's what's impressive about deGrom.
Adrian Gonzalez was 0 for 4 last night. He couldn't catch that fastball, and it's 0-2. Gonzalez 83 runs batted in, 3rd in the National League. Matt Kemp hits cleanup. He's on deck. And on 3 fastballs, DeGrom makes quick work of Gonzalez. 2 strikeouts in the opening inning for Jacob DeGrom. Welcome back, Jake. All appears to be well. No score after 1. Dodger Stadium. Nice to see the Great Danes represented. And the dogs too.
It's always very popular with the fans in New York.
Bulldog with a helmet. Very nice.
In the shade.
Looks like he's in the Army.
It's hot for those pups.
Lucas Duda leads off in the second, skims one right over the bag, but that's where Gonzalez is. Greinke covers, and on one pitch, Greinke has the first out in the second.
Well, Gonzalez has won a Gold Glove at first base. He plays his position well. One of the better first basemen defensively in the game.
So 1 pitch and 1 out, and now Travis d'Arnaud.
Easy backhand, a little high throw. Got a little loose with the throw.
Greinke, a good athlete, though. No problems handling that. Here's d'Arnaud, 1 for 4 last night. He and Duda, the 2 Southern Californians in the Mets lineup, returning home to play. d'Arnaud grew up in Lakewood, California, same town that produced the former Met and now Dodger Justin Turner. They played at different high schools in Lakewood. Travis hitting at .224 for the year. And he takes a strike, 1-1. Mets faced Greinke back in May, and they broke his long streak of allowing 2 runs or fewer. He had gone 21 straight starts allowing 2 runs or less, and Mets got 3 against him, albeit 2 of those were unearned.
It was a no decision for him in a 5-3 loss.
That streak of 21 straight starts allowing 2 runs or fewer was a major league record. The old mark had been held by Ferdy Shuck of the 1916 and 17 New York Giants. Now that record has also been surpassed another time this year. Felix Hernandez, 17 straight starts. But that streak for King Felix came to an end last night when he gave up 3 against the Boston Red Sox. Seattle rallied to win that game and put together another big inning and beat Boston again today. So Seattle stays in that second wild card spot in the American League. Greinke ahead of d'Arnaud, 1-2. And this is just inside, I think.
Well, the sun has gone down over the left field line of the stadium now, and no problem, no issues in right field. Fastball inside corner just missed.
Well, that didn't miss. C.B. Buckner missed it, maybe.
So the sun is no longer an issue in this ball yard.
2-2 coming. And the slider hit the other way. Nice looking base hit for d'Arnaud. So the Mets have their second hit.
Nice hitting by d'Arnaud going the other way. We mentioned it last night, Gary. d'Arnaud can get a little pull happy. Hit that opposite field home run impressively in Oakland. And that is a good pitch. And when you swing like that and then make a good pitch like that, pitcher's got to tip his hat.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Juan Lagares, who had a couple of hits last night after he had put together an 0 for 14 streak. And he rolls one to the right side. Gordon closes ground on it and gets the out at first. d'Arnaud to second with 2 out. Gordon covered a lot of ground in a hurry.
He does.
You know, they first brought him to the big leagues as a shortstop, and he just never cut it. He didn't hit enough. His fielding was erratic, but he's found a home now in a new position, and he has been as important as any Dodger in their cause this year. Here's Matt Dendecker, 0 for 3 last night, now 0 for his last 9. Well, the Mets broke out in Oakland, put together an 8-run game on Wednesday, but they were right back in the offensive doldrums last night. Just 2 runs and 6 hits and a 6-2 loss.
Well, they're playing Dendecker for the pull here on Airway Barrena up the middle. I'm getting there.
You know, here's the good part about that. Tomorrow, it'll be Hanley Ramirez at shortstop.
That's true.
He's coming off the DL.
Yes. So I better try hard tonight.
Another chance for Gordon, right at him. And he throws out Dendecker. 3 ground ball outs for Greinke in the inning, and the Mets are done in the top of the second. No score at Dodger Stadium.
It's time for the hot dog race presented by Farmer Jump, competing the low Chicago.
They even let me on the beach.
Really? Did you have to wear ID?
No, I got some friends that live up in the hills there. I used to have friends that lived up there. They had one fire about burned their house down about 6, 7, 8 years ago, and they moved out.
Matt Kemp leads off for the Dodgers in the home second.
He was 1 for 4 last night. Had the big blow that broke the game open, 2-out double.
Well, that was after that second Flores error that opened the door in a big inning.
Correct. He got the hit off of Torres, a double in the left center field.
Kemp started slow this year, but he has swung the bat well. He's had something of a bounce back year, certainly not to the level of his near MVP season of 3 years ago.
Well, all the offensive numbers have come back down to earth.
course, the interesting thing about, we were talking about the last inning, about all the expensive Dodger outfielders. They've got Kemp signed for another 5 years after this. He had signed an 8-year, $160 million contract after his great year in 2011. And, you know, he's only 29 years old. You wonder whether the Dodgers are going to move one of these guys, or they're going to go into next year with just as much burden. That's pulled down to third. David Wright handles the hop and throws out Kemp one away. Going to bring up Andre Ethier, who's been kind of the forgotten guy in that Dodger outfield rotation. This is just his 5th start in the last 21 games.
Well, he's just lost his job, plain and simple.
Ethier getting the start today in center field, where he's played the most this year. This is his 55th start in center field. But he's played all over the outfield for LA this year. Yasiel Puig getting the night off tonight. John Mattingly saying before the game that Puig had signs of fatigue. Keith, I've heard more discussion of players who are tired or fatigued this year than I've ever heard before.
Well, it's a trend. It happens a lot with the Mets. I know that I've got rest in my career, and the manager never said I was tired. He just said, no, we're just going to give Keith a day off. You know, he's due for a day off. So, I mean, you push through August. This is the dog day, August, the dog days.
Do you think players are more tired now than they were when you played, or do you think there's more conversation about it?
I think there's more conversation, and I do think that the schedule is a lot more difficult now with the extra teams, the expansion with Denver and Arizona and Phoenix. You got other teams out west, a lot of trips out. There used to be, you know, you remember this, the 10 days on the West Coast, and you come home.
Right, you did it twice a year, and that was it.
Well, 5 times this year this team's gone out west.
Well, that's because of interleague play as
I understand.
well.
But I don't know what to say about it. I have a lot of strong feelings about it.
Ethier grips one into right field. That'll go all the way to the wall. Granderson getting 2, and Ethier turns second. He's going to try for 3. Murphy's relay throw, not in time. A 3-base hit for Andre Ethier, his 6th triple of the year.
Well, you don't get a little playing time. The fastball just didn't get in. It bled out enough on the inner half. And Ethier obviously hustling all the way. Ball didn't carry him out as Granderson thought it would. Ripped. Left-hand hitters are low ball hitters. And he's hustling all the way. He made up his mind, just around halfway to second base.
Well, early in this game, Terry Collins is going to bring his infield in. Ethier 3rd and 1 out. Aries Bell, Arway Barrena at the plate. And he goes after the first pitch slider, 0-1. Arway Barrena 1 for 3 last night, scored a couple of runs. Signed by the Dodgers this spring. Cuban defector. He played for the Cuban team in the World Baseball Classic last year. Dodgers gave him a 5-year, $25 million deal.
He's a tall kid.
Another slider from DeGrom, a ball and a strike. Drew Butera, the backup catcher, playing tonight. He's on deck.
I still feel, Gary, getting back to that one point, I used to always come to spring training 8 to 10 pounds overweight, and I was in shape because I ran long distance.
1-1 from DeGrom, and he throws the fastball by him, and in a situation where he needs a strikeout, it's ahead 1-2.
Beautiful pitch right there, 97. And my point being is these guys come in shape. They come in like they come in mid-season form. And I'd dropped that 8 pounds in the latter part of May playing every day, but I was in shape to play.
DeGrom ahead 1-2. Struck him out. Big strikeout for DeGrom, his third of the night. So now there are 2 out, and Ethier's still on third.
Well, that's what I love about DeGrom here. Gets in trouble. That was a very tactical at-bat right there as far as his pitches were concerned. He pitched Airway Barreno. I'll get it. It's very tough.
Just so you know, you're not the only one struggling with that name. All over baseball, anytime they play the Dodgers and this kid's in the lineup, everybody has the same problem. You just call him by his first name. Call him Arispel.
Arispel. Gotcha.
Here's Drew Butera, and he taps one to short. Flores waits on it and throws out Butera to end the inning. So DeGrom able to work around the triple by Ethier and keep the Dodgers off the board. No score after 2.
Time for Priceless.
Something special with a great deal on a Honda. Hey, meathead.
Yeah, there he is. Rob Reiner. Very successful, obviously, directing and producing. He's made some wonderful films.
Wilmer Flores leads off for the Mets in the third. Flores 0 for 3 last night. Flores, DeGrom, and Granderson for the Mets in the third against Greinke, who's given up a hit in each of the first 2 innings. Zach Greinke last year 15-4, 2.63 ERA. This year 12-8, 2.75, 7th in the league in ERA. He is a legitimate co-ace to Clayton Kershaw.
Oh,
nice diving stop by Miguel Rojas, and he throws out Flores. Rojas, a shortstop playing third base, looked like one there.
Boy, what a play here to his left. Look at that instant reaction. That's a lot of range to his left. Haven't seen that in a while. Wow.
I mean, you normally think of a third baseman's job as being a step and a dive. That was 4 steps and a dive.
That was a heck of a play.
So one difficult play, 1 out and nobody on, and now DeGrom. 8 hits and 33 at bats for Jacob. You've got 2 very good hitting pitchers in this game with DeGrom and Greinke. Greinke's Silver Slugger winner last year, and DeGrom, who might win one of these days.
Well, DeGrom was the one that broke that 0 for streak with the Met pitchers this year. That was so. How many
was it? 0 for 64 or
something like that. Yeah, it was not good.
Well, considering he didn't come up to the big leagues till the middle of May, and for him to get the first hit by a Met pitcher all season,
right,
it became something of historical note.
Oh, pulled the string on the curveball there.
That's the first one of those he's thrown tonight.
76 miles per hour. Got DeGrom out in front.
That's really smart on Greinke's part too. You know, a lot of times pitchers will unleash that extra pitch second time around the batting order. But as Ronnie has talked about, if you're going to throw your curveball for the first time, better to throw it against the opposing pitcher, because if you hang it, maybe it doesn't get out of the ballpark. Whereas if you throw a hanging curve to the next guy, it might leave the yard.
That makes sense.
Kind of use the pitcher as a tune-up. 2-2 from Greinke, and he goes lone away with the sinker. Full count. I want to get back to what we were talking about last inning about players getting fatigued. He doesn't look tired at all. Do you think the fact that players spend so much more time in the ballpark than they used to is a factor? DeGrom hits one well out to left field, chasing Crawford back, way back, near the wall. He can't make the play. DeGrom to second. He pulls in with his second career double, and he nearly went out of the ballpark to the opposite field.
Well, I don't think the Dodgers will play him so shallow. High fastball. That's some power there. He's short hopped the wall.
Crawford just couldn't get back there in time. So the Mets with their first extra base hit of the night, and now Granderson comes to the plate with a runner at second and one out. Granderson flied to right his first time up. So we're talking about all the conversation about players being fatigued.
Yes.
Do you think all the time in the ballpark is a factor?
Well, what are they doing when they come to the ballpark today at 12 noon? Because I know all the visiting clubhouse guys say they got to cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner for them. Where before, you guys wouldn't show up, you'd be on the 4 o'clock bus.
Well, I think they're taking a lot more swings in the cage.
Yes.
I think they're doing a lot more lifting.
You can tire yourself out there.
Well,
you can get arm weary. You can get too much hitting. It's a bunker mentality down there too. You're underneath. They got televisions. They can watch TV. Stay at home and watch TV.
Granderson hits it out to right. Kemp gets behind it, and DeGrom's not going to chance it. He'll stay put at second base. 2 out.
So I think, Garrett, that I do think they hit too much. I mean, I walked by. They got the new Dodger clubhouse now, which further down the right field line. And where the old clubhouse was, I had to walk through to get to the elevators behind home plate to get upstairs. Yesterday, that was the exercise room, the weight room. And a couple guys were in there on the elliptical machine. I'm going, what? And they're everyday players. What is going on? Am I going to expend any energy at all on an elliptical machine when I'm playing 155, 57 games in the course of a season? No. What, they're going to do it softly to get loose and get warm? Go out and do a couple sprints. Get some ground balls. That's where you get loose. So there's some things that are done differently today, and maybe I'm wrong. I got tired, sure, but you know what? It was a mentality that you never let it beat you. You never let yourself tell yourself you're tired. You have to push through it. Now, when you get older, in your 30s, okay, it's a different story.
I just think the irony is that players certainly are in better shape all year round than they've ever been in before. Probably have less body fat than they've ever had before, more muscle than they've ever had before. But their workloads are smaller. There are very few guys playing 155 games. Pitchers are not pitching as many innings. So there's a lot more being in shape and a lot less playing the game.
And I don't
Does that make any sense?
It does, but here's something I've been kind of chewing on a little bit lately too. And we talked about length of games. And you know, when a hot day and a day game, there's the players. You look at the players on the infield right now. They're just, you look at the fan would look at them and go, oh, they're just standing there doing nothing, not exerting any energy. Or David Wright in the on-deck circle. On the course of a 9-inning game, that gets you more tired just standing there. And these games are longer. They're playing 3 hours now. What effect does that have?
Just being out in the field, whatever is the extra half hour, 45 minutes. It's an interesting point.
I don't know. Because we just didn't play 3-hour games, and now they're the norm.
Right.
You know, so does that have an effect? I don't know. But it always was, you knew that August was going to be the month you're going to have to really grit your teeth and push through it. And then you get to that latter part of August, and you get into the 20s in August, or the last week of August, and you get that second win.
2-2 to Murphy with DeGrom at second and 2 out. And Murphy takes strike 3 call,
boy.
and he certainly didn't think so.
Well, there's been some bad umpiring here.
No.
That's low.
So Murphy called out on a ball that almost hit the ground. A double and 1 left. No score in L.A.
Stadium's formal christening was April 10, 1962, and the city celebrated the opening of its new baseball palace with appropriate flair. Walter O'Malley had good reason to be excited, too. His dream stadium was finally a reality.
Dodger Stadium now in its 53rd season. As the great Don Newcombe, who pitched for the Dodgers their first year in Los Angeles, but by then his career had taken a downturn. He had his great years for the Dodgers in Brooklyn.
Right, and I had a chance to say hello to Don today. A gentleman, and Manny Mota's in the house, former Pittsburgh Pirate, Dodger, a pitch hitter like Rusty was, a great pinch hitter.
Don Newcombe is now 88 years old. His best year with the Dodgers came in 1956 when he won 27 games. And he is he's here a lot, and he's a towering figure. He really is. Miguel Rojas leads off for the Dodgers in the home third. I got to shake Don Newcombe's hand today. His hand.
No, he's always got monstrous hands.
Dwarfed mine.
Yeah, he's got hands like J.R. Richards.
Rojas, a hot shot, and Duda with a nice grab for the first out of the inning. That ball appeared headed down the line, and Duda made sure it didn't.
Beautiful play by Lucas. Ball's ripped, pure reaction. There you go. Nice play.
So Rojas retired, one away. And now Zach Greinke. Greinke not having as good an offensive year this year as he did last year. Last year, he had .328 for the season. He had 19 hits, won the Silver Slugger as the best hitting pitcher in the National League. Remember, this is a guy who early in his career didn't swing the bat. He started out his career in the American League in Kansas City. But he's now a lifetime .211 hitter. So he is a factor to be reckoned with. DeGrom will just hit a double against Greinke. We'll try and avoid the same fate. Ball and a strike to Greinke. Lee Gordon on deck. Well, certainly DeGrom has looked none the worse for wear for his stint on the disabled list.
And it looks like there's nothing in the back of his head about my shoulder. He's letting it loose.
We've already seen a couple of 97s from DeGrom tonight. There's the slider and the half swing checked out. He did not go. Dale Scott with the call, and it's 3-1 to Greinke. Murphy to his right. Greinke not running hard. Murph takes his time and throws him out, 2 away. Get to Citi Field Friday, August 29th for Free Shirt Friday when the Mets take on the Phillies at 7:10. All fans in attendance will receive a Mets t-shirt courtesy of Pepsi. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Free Shirt Friday. So 2 out and nobody on. Now Deke Gordon. Gordon struck out in the opening inning.
He's a nice looking player. And what's nice to see in this Dodger team now with Crawford in the line, the speed at the top. You saw last night Gordon had the 3 for 5 night, hit the triple. Speed is exciting. It makes things happen as far as making the game exciting. It puts pressure on the defense.
Murphy was going toward the middle on the pitch, had to retrace his steps, and he throws out Gordon to end the inning. Murph will do that sometimes. He'll cheat. He's gotten burned by it before. That time he was able to recover, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for DeGrom. No score as we go to the 4th in L.A. Middle infielder is that you can see the signs from the catcher, so you know what pitch is coming.
Exactly.
And so Daniel Murphy will do this quite a bit.
Watch Daniel, upper right hand screen of your screen, sidling to his right, and then he stumbles but recovers.
Now, what is that based on? Why is he moving those 2 steps to his right as the pitch is being thrown?
I gotta believe, I'd like to see the pitch. I should have been more attentive. If it's an off-speed pitch, then he has no business going up the middle. So I gotta believe it's a fastball away that was called.
David Wright leads off the 4th, takes a curveball strike from Greinke. Now, have you seen a lot of other middle infielders do what Murphy is doing?
Yes, but you shift over on off-speed pitches with a left-hand hitter, which that was. And I said it here all the time, is that Wally, first baseman, third baseman cannot see the signs. Shortstop, second base can. So Wally used to always tell me the left-hand hitter when it was an off-speed curve or change up to a left-hand hitter. And the pitcher would wind up and get deep into his wind-up, and Wally would say Keith or whatever. He would say Max, actually, but I don't go by that name anymore. But he would go Max. All right, I'm going to keep it accurate here. I'm on the record.
It's an affectionate term, you know.
So when the ball was released out, yes, when the ball was released out of the pitcher's hand, where the hitter's got to be focused on the ball coming in, we would shift over. I would shift towards the line because the ball more inclined to be pulled.
Now let me ask you this: for some infielders, can shifting like that work at cross purposes? Arroway Barrena circles in on it and throws out right one away. In other words,
can you give it away?
Well, not just that. That would be one thing, but the other thing is, can you risk not being on balance when the ball is hit?
No. You're only shifting over around 2 to 3 feet, and I was never in a position where I was cross-footed or cross-legged. I was always ready to make a move.
That's you, but are there some fielders who might find themselves, and like Murphy in this case, was he completely on balance to make the move back to his left after shifting?
Well, he stumbled. His foot came out from under him because the dirt came out from under him. I think Danny was in a position to field and make a move. Mm-hmm. Yes. I played with a very good infield in St. Louis, and they were all top-notch fielders. Tommy Hurt, second. Ozzie, of course, at short, and Obi was a terrific third baseman. And we were on turf. You see Murph making the move. He could be a little more set, Garrett. You don't want to get caught when the ball's hit in motion one way. You want to be set.
But you can certainly understand why an infielder, as Duda gets jammed and floats one into shallow right center that falls for a hit. So Duda got tied up inside and still winds up with the Mets' 4th hit of the night.
Up and in. And that's what they've been doing with Lucas now. And Lucas is holding his own. He got raging hot there, hit a lot of home runs, and now they're pitching him different. They're not pitching him one way. There's Mark McGwire, the hitting coach for the Dodgers, and he's always been in a conversation with Puig. That must be his pupil right there. This man, don't tell him too much. This Puig can hit. He's a natural hitter.
There's d'Arnaud with 1 out and 1 on. I was going to say, if you're an infielder who's not blessed with great range or great natural ability, which I think would be the way you describe Murph, that shift, that anticipation can give you a little more range that you wouldn't otherwise have,
or it can, like you said, the other way, could be going the wrong way.
And I guess that's my question: is at the end of the day, is he better off as d'Arnaud hits one that eats up Rojas and goes underneath him? Duda will stop at second. So Rojas, who made a great play in the last inning to Rob Flores, not able to make that backhand on the short hop. And d'Arnaud reaches safely.
And that would have been double play written all over him. And let's see what they rule it. I think they ruled it a base hit. No, not yet. They haven't made a rule. Ruling. He just missed it. That ball's in the air.
And they're going to score that an error.
I agree.
On Rojas. So after a terrific play in the last inning, Rojas flubs that one, and the Mets have 2 men on. And Juan Lagares at the plate. Lagares grounded out to second base his first time up. Duda at second, d'Arnaud at first, and 1 out. And the breaking ball in the dirt for ball 1.
So there's Greinke looking at a double play and out and in the dugout, and now he's got to get a pitch out of a jam.
Well, much like DeGrom, Greinke has looked just fine after getting a start pushed back a couple of days because of elbow soreness. A ball and a strike to Lagares. There's your Verizon Fios high-speed pitch. DeGrom is topped out at 97. Greinke at 94. Brought to you by Verizon Fios Quantum TV. That's powerful. One and one to Lagares with 2 men on. And one hits one to deep left center field. Crawford going back, looks up, and it's out of here. Juan Lagares with a 3-run homer. His 3rd home run of the year, his 1st since the month of May. 3 months later, Lagares hits a 3-run bomb to give the Mets a 3-0 lead. Juan Lagares had gone 227 at bats since his last home run, May 17th against Gio Gonzalez.
Change up, not down, but not in away enough. You don't want to throw a change up middle in, and you don't want to throw a change up. Let him catch up to it. Nice hitting. Yeah, he knew it right away. He wanted it away, and he got it on the inner half. You don't ever want to throw change-ups middle in. You can get clobbered.
Well, that feels good for Lagares. It had been a long time in coming. His 3rd home run of the season. And it stakes DeGrom to a 3-0 lead. Now Dendecker bounces one foul. Dendecker grounded out to second base his first time up. So a blue pit by Duda. The error at third base by Rojas, setting the table, and Lagares unloading. And Dendecker down on strikes on the high fastball. 2nd strikeout of the night for Greinke. 2 out of the inning. Well, Lagares had been slumping coming into this series. Had a couple of hits last night.
He swung the bat good last night, I thought.
Mets have been talking about Lagares and his power, and that at some point he would become a guy who would hit, 15 home runs a year. Wilmer Flores takes a strike.
I just don't want him to try to hit home runs. Just hit line drives. Rome wasn't built in the day. You slowly build. You get more experience under your belt. Juan really hasn't proven himself yet.
And you would certainly say that wasn't the case where he was trying to hit a home run.
No, definitely not.
Right, so.
And I don't think he does. He's not that kind of guy. He's very disciplined. He's a line drive hitter. When you get more 5 years under your belt and you face the pitchers around the league, then you can start picking your spots.
0-2 to Flores. And he pops one up. One thing's for certain with Lagares' defense, he's going to get a chance to play every day.
No question.
And if that power comes, he'll get a chance to find out. First run of the game brought to you by the New York Lottery. Hey, you never know. First run? How about first 3 runs? Juan Lagares, 3-run shot. 3-0 New York as we go to the bottom of the 4th. day in Southern California. What else is new?
Well, it's a desert. They have water issues here, you know. When I was a kid, my dad was always furious because all the political power in California is in Los Angeles because of the population, obviously. And they would take the water from Northern California because this is desert and they needed it. And they expanded into San Fernando Valley. Now they take it from the Colorado River, too. Bunch of thieves.
Just reminded me of the movie Chinatown. Carl Crawford leads off in the home fourth against Jacob deGrom, now fortified with a 3-0 lead.
The Chinatown was all about that.
Right.
It was all about the water and expanding all the orange groves that were up, and all the Oklahomans, the Sooners that were out there had all those orange groves, and they moved them out.
Just watch your nose, Jake.
You're right.
0-2 to Crawford. Well, some folks up in the former goat pasture known as Chavez Ravine, overlooking Dodger Stadium. Walter O'Malley got this land for a song.
Yes, he did.
Right near downtown L.A. Hundreds and hundreds of acres.
Was it gifted to him, or did you have to pay a little bit?
He got it for a very low price.
So this property was owned by the O'Malley family, and they built the stadium on it.
And acres and acres of parking to go with it, and there's still plenty of goat pasture left.
This is built on a hill, and it's really like an ancient Greek amphitheater. We are up here on the back side of the hill. There's parking above us.
Right.
We are on the 5th level. There's 9 levels to the behind home plate.
When you can park on every level.
And you can park on every level. So it's an amphitheater. They tucked in this ballpark. You're looking right at center field now. You can see where the great Dodger in the sky is. You get up on that level up there. There's a parking lot in that level. And we're way down here on the. You go down 2 levels. We're right underneath.
There we are. Up and into Crawford. It's 2-2. Did they see you wave? Go ahead, wave again.
Hey folks, here we are.
There you are.
See, there we are.
I can see you waving in the distance.
So there's parking up there.
There's parking in them there hills. 3-2 to Crawford.
So it's kind of cool the way they tucked this stadium into this side of this hill. It's just brilliant.
By the way, you know how much of an honor it is to have the booth right next to Vin Scully?
I had a long chat with Vin today. He's such a great guy.
3-2 to Crawford, and he fouls one away. And he's much more impeccably dressed than you and I too.
Yes, he is. He's always in coat and tie. There he is, Vin. 86 years old.
Still doing the game solo.
Now, He did on the scoreboard, folks, a preview of today's game that was around what? 4 minutes? 5 minutes? Smooth as silk.
Of course. He's the best it's ever been. Crawford draws a leadoff walk. First one given up by deGrom tonight. I mean, there aren't too many people who, while they're still working in their profession, that you can say that they're the best at their job that has ever been. And Vin Scully is that. There's never been a better baseball broadcaster, and he's doing it for the 65th consecutive year, and he's coming back next year for year number 66. And when they made that announcement here at Dodger Stadium, it was made to thunderous applause. He is a civic treasure here. He used to be a civic treasure in New York. Grew up, of course, in New York. Went to Fordham. Crawford runs. Darno's throw, a good one, but Crawford beats it anyway. 20th stolen base of the year for Carl Crawford, the 467th of his career.
Well, good pitch to throw. Darno's been having his issues, but good fundies here. A little bit of extra motion with his arm, and that's a split second, but too good a jump to throw him out.
That's the best throw he's made in a while.
Yes.
So a runner in scoring position for the Dodgers. 1-0 to Adrian Gonzalez, who struck out his first time up. And he pops one up foul. That'll go out of play, 1-1.
deGrom is not afraid to bring on the cheddar cheese, let me tell you. I like this guy.
Well, there's a guy who burst on the scene like a supernova in his rookie season, much like Mr. deGrom. That, of course, is Fernando Valenzuela.
Boy, what a pitcher.
The progenitor of Fernando Mania. and you ate him up.
I had success against him. He struck me out 11 times, though.
76 at bats, 28 hits. That's a .368 average against Fernando Valenzuela.
Throwing 13 walks.
Aren't a lot of guys who can boast those numbers, particularly left-hand batters against Freddie.
He was tough, though. Some guys you hit, you just don't know. You're on the same left sync with them.
Broken bat into right field, a base hit for Gonzalez. Crawford being waved home. Granderson's throw to the plate comes through, but not in time. And the Dodgers are on the board. Adrian Gonzalez, 84th run batted into the season.
That is second in the National League, behind the big guy, the big right fielder in Miami, Mike Stanton, Giancarlo Stanton, excuse me. Not a strong throw, but at least the cutoff man was hit, even though it was at his ankle, so the runner can't advance to second base.
So a walk, a stolen base, and Gonzalez with an RBI single to cut the Mets' lead to 3-1. And Dan Warthen out to the mound to talk to Zach Greinke, to Jacob deGrom. So deGrom handed a 3-0 lead here in the fourth. Long turn at bat against Crawford resulted in a walk, and that's resulted in a run. He broke Gonzalez's bat, and Gonzalez nonetheless drives in the run. Now it's Matt Kemp, who grounded out his first time up.
Nice crowd here Saturday evening.
Gonzalez, no speed at first. And that's hit hard, a base hit for Kemp. So back-to-back hits for Gonzalez and Kemp after the leadoff walk, and now the Dodgers have two aboard with nobody out.
Hanging slider right here, the first hanger from deGrom.
So second time around the batting order, proving a little more troublesome for deGrom. Now Andre Ethier, who had the only hit first time through, a triple down the right field line.
Well, they're giving him that right field line again. The outfield for the Mets playing him to the opposite field. Lagares shaded over on the other side of second base, the left field side.
Gonzalez at second, Kemp at first, and nobody out. And deGrom started him off with a curveball. It's fouled off.
Good one, too, down and in.
Haven't seen that curve much from deGrom. It's the pitch that he learned most recently. He started throwing that curveball really this spring to go with his fastball, slider, and change. Slow roller. Murphy's only play will be to first, in time to get Ethier as the runners move up.
Well, that's very unfortunate for deGrom. You get him out in front and he hits a little weak ground ball that advances both runners like a sacrifice.
So two in scoring position, and Arisbel Arraway-Barrena will come to bat.
Well, we'll see how deGrom attacks him. It took quick work. It really struck him out in the tight spot. Last at bat with chased Brad breaking balls. The Mets are going to concede the run.
So for the second straight at bat, Arraway-Barrena comes up with a runner at third and less than two out. deGrom got the big strikeout last time, and he'd love another one here. Gonzalez at third, Kemp at second, and one out. And Arraway-Barrena hits this one well out to right center. Lagares back near the wall to run it down. Tagging at third is Gonzalez. He'll come in to score on the sacrifice fly by Arraway-Barrena to cut the Met lead to 3-2.
Nice at bat for Arisbel. Fastball right down the pipe. Had no intention of pulling it. Was going up the middle. That's what you want to do when we got the runner on third base, less than two outs, and good base running all the way around. On the backside, Kemp reads it's going to be caught. Lagares catches most everything that stays in the ballpark.
Yeah, If you're going to play against the Mets and there's a fly ball anywhere near center field, you might as well guess it's going to be caught. Here's Drew Butera with the tying run at 3rd and 2 down. Butera grounded to short his first time up. Drew Butera, originally drafted and signed by the Mets, who traded him to the Minnesota Twins in 2007 in the deal that brought the Mets Luis Castillo. It's a long time ago. Butera now 31 years old, back up to A.J. Ellis. And a good curveball by DeGrom to get ahead. And to get even 1-1.
It's Rick Honeycutt, the pitching coach, next to Greinke. It's really a hanging slider right there. And Butera just missed, hanging there on a platter. Greinke very focused.
Fly ball to left, and Dendecker settles. And the side retired, but the Dodgers, after falling behind 3-0, get 2 of them right back against Jacob DeGrom. That'll send us off to the 5th with the Mets up 3-2. Baseball is brought to you by the 2014 Mazda 3 with seamless connectivity. Los Angeles on a Saturday evening. 3-2 New York as we go to the 5th. Jacob DeGrom had an opposite field double that short hopped the wall in left field his first time up. It'll be 9-1-2 in the Mets batting order against Zach Greinke in the 5th. And DeGrom laces one into center, and he's 2 for 2. So DeGrom has had the measure of Greinke in his 2 at-bats. That's 10 hits now for Jacob.
Fastball right down the middle, and they're going to find out real quick you can't do this. That's not that bad a pitch. That pitch was outside corner. That's good hitting.
We'll get DeGrom's batting average up to 286 for the year. So the Mets will try and do something with that. First time they've had the leadoff man on tonight. Curtis Granderson's been up twice, flied out to right field both times. Meanwhile, in Milwaukee tonight, the Pirates are beating up on the Brewers for the 2nd straight night. They got 7 in 5 innings against Willie Peralta, who's been so good for the Brewers this year. That's a huge series for the Pirates, who had slipped 6 games back. They're up 10-2 in the 9th tonight, and will be just 4 back.
And the Pirates, historically, of late, have been a team that Milwaukee owns them. So they went in there probably, gosh, we got to have this series or we're going to be done.
And significantly for Pittsburgh, Pedro Alvarez has hit 2 home runs tonight. He hadn't homered in a month and a half. Granderson cracks one deep, but foul. And one will back in the 2nd deck. Alvarez is now a first baseman. His throwing became such a problem they had to move him across the diamond. They put putting Josh Harrison at third, putting Ike Davis on the bench, and playing Alvarez at first.
Well, they're pretty much getting what the Mets got out of Ike Davis, and it's not the 32 home runs he hit that one year.
Meanwhile, the team in between Milwaukee and Pittsburgh in the standings, St. Louis, continues to toddle along without Molina. 1-2 coming to Granderson, and it has not helped the Cardinals that Adam Wainwright all of a sudden is at the skids.
He's got 8 losses now, right?
In August, he's 2-3 with a 6.49 ERA. So the defending National League champions are in a bad way right now. 3-2 to Granderson, and yet they're only a game and a half out of first place and sitting in the first wild card spot, albeit somewhat tenuously. They're 5-5 with the Phillies tonight in the ninth after the Phillies beat the Cardinals last night. 3-2 to Granderson with DeGrom at first. And Curtis rolls one weakly. Gordon's only play will be to first, and DeGrom moves up, one away. Similar to the ground ball that Ethier hit. That moved the runners up.
Got all tied up inside.
So runner in scoring position for Murphy. Daniel had an opposite field single in the first inning, and then with a runner at second and 2 out in the third, got called out on strikes on a pitch that appeared to be about 6 inches off the ground. Greinke has struck out only 2 tonight. He's 5th in the National League in strikeouts, so I'll tell you a little something about where he's at right now.
Line center field, base hit. DeGrom to third. He's going to be held up there as Ethier airmails it into home plate.
So Murphy smacks one up the middle. And Timmy Tuffle probably wisely holding DeGrom at third.
Another changeup that's not fooling anybody. Remember, that ball's ripped by Murph. Up, changeup, out over the plate. Don't want to run yourself out of an inning. Strong throw by Ethier, so the right call. Remember, the home run, 3-run shot by Lagares was off a changeup.
I think you don't want to run yourself out of an inning. You also don't want to get your pitcher involved in a close play at the plate. And I think that had to factor into the consideration too.
They're going to play back for 2 here. David's already hit into a double play.
David just 2 for his last 23, and probably even more startlingly, David Wright has driven in only 4 runs in his last 25 games. It is the first time in his major league career he's had any 25-game span where he's driven in so few runs. He has been good at getting a runner in from third. That's been the case throughout his career. We'll see if he can get it done here. DeGrom at third, Murphy at first, and 1 out. And he chases the slider, 0-2. The double play that David grounded into in the first inning was his 20th of the year, which is second in the National League behind Casey McGee. And now Greinke ahead of him, 0-2.
Shook him off. Fastball in. When throw him a sinker down in, try to get a ground ball.
Up and in. 1-2. Lucas Duda waits on deck. Mets have 7 hits against Greinke and 4 1/3. Trying to cash in here after Lagares' 3-run homer gave the Mets the lead in the last inning.
Doubling up inside.
1-2. And he just missed with it. 2-2. DeGrom led off the inning with a base hit. He's at third. Murphy at first with 1 out.
Here comes the slider.
And Wright pulls one down to third, should be two. Rojas to Gordon, has to reach for it. Wide throw, and Gonzalez stayed on the bag. Double play, inning over. Terry Collins is going to come out. The first base umpire, Dale Scott, ruled that Gonzalez stayed on the bag. Let's watch.
Good slide by Murphy. And he did. Oh,
did he?
Let's see. Not a good throw from Rojas. This should have been turned to really put Gordon in harm's way. Gordon
made a great play.
Great play by Gordon.
I don't know.
And Terry's not going to challenge it.
So the inning is over. David Wright grounds into a double play for the second time tonight, and this one cost the Mets a run. 3-2 New York halfway through in LA.
Work for the Dodgers to turn two here.
What a turn by Gordon, Gary. And then look at this play by Gonzalez.
And he did stay on the bag.
He did. It's a little tough angle right there to see.
This is a good one right here.
Here's the one. Look at that. That's a heck of a play, folks.
But how about Gordon? How did he get around Murphy and handle that low throw at the same time?
Well, he didn't make an accurate throw. He was just so athletic.
So it's still a 3-2 game as we go to the bottom of the fifth. Rojas, who started that double play, tries to push a bunt. DeGrom off the mound quickly and makes the play for the first out.
Look how athletic DeGrom is on that bunt. Here's a double play again. Just a poor throw by Rojas really puts Gordon in trouble. What a play. The back end of that double play was as good as it gets.
Gordon is a second baseman who they moved over from shortstop. Rojas is a third baseman tonight. He's primarily a shortstop. It's like we talked about with the Cubs over the weekend. You get all these shortstops and sprinkle them around the field, you're going to have a more athletic team. Zach Greinke thinks about trying to butt his way on after Rojas was just thrown out. Greinke grounded out his first time up. Speaking of the Cubs, by the way, Javier Baez hit another home run today in their win over the Orioles. That's 7 now. He's a free swinger, but boy, he can hit a long way. We saw that the one he hit the second deck in left center at Citi Field.
He doesn't get cheated.
One-on-one to Greinke. And he takes a wild cut at that breaking ball.
Well, the fans are doing the wave here, huh?
DeGrom ahead. 1-2, and it's pulled toward the hole. A base hit for Greinke. So the base hit count for the pitchers tonight: DeGrom 2, Greinke 1. Those are two pitchers who can play the whole game. It's the best way to start your weekday. Join Suki, Corey, and the gang from 5 to 9 on the Pix 11 Morning News, where every story hits home.
That's right. If they can get up, they got to get up around 3 in the morning. Those guys, that whole crew, maybe sooner. So if they can get up at 3, you can get up at 5 and watch them.
I'll call you tomorrow to make sure you're up. Here's D. Gordon with the tying run at first and 1 out, and he takes a strike. Hey, I worked morning drive radio for several years.
No life,
getting
right?
up at 3:30 in the morning.
No life.
All I do every morning when I woke up is think, when can I sleep again? Lashed the other way and just foul. Gordon had an RBI hit that way last night.
Well, you notice where David Wright is playing. He is a left-hand hitter tucked against that line. Gordon shows he has the ability to hit that ball with authority.
Last night, David was off the line when Gordon got that hit against John Neese. Due to playing behind Greinke at first. DeGrom ahead 0-2. Greinke bluffs as though he's going to run and then doesn't. And the curveball strikes out Gordon. Second time Gordon's been struck out tonight. The 4th for DeGrom.
Not a strike.
So 2 out. Greinke's still at first, and now Carl Crawford, who got the Dodgers rally going in the 4th inning with a walk and a stolen base, and then scored their first run. First start in 16 days for Jacob deGrom. Working with a lead in the 5th inning. The plan was tonight for deGrom's pitch count to be cut off somewhere in the 90s. So he still has plenty of rope at 66 pitches, but you certainly can't expect more than about 6 innings from him tonight in his first start back.
He's thrown well, too. The one thing that I've seen is he's been a little up. He has been so consistently at the knees since his call-up. I've never seen anybody be able to stay on the knees with the consistency that deGrom has coming up in the big leagues. And a lot of pitchers can't keep the ball down. He's been a little bit up at times, which shows a little bit of rustiness, and that's understandable.
Now he's behind on Crawford 3-1 with Gonzalez looming on deck. You see deGrom has averaged 102. He'll probably settle for something less than that tonight. 3-1 to Crawford. And he fouls away the fastball. 3-2. One thing is for certain, deGrom has insinuated himself into the National League Rookie of the Year race.
Yes, he has, and he's also solidified his untouchable on this roster. He is good.
Greinke gets set to run. 3-2 to Crawford, misses inside, ball 4. So Crawford, who doesn't walk much, walks for the second time tonight.
Interesting pitch selection. That was his, changeup is his 4th pitch.
So that moves the tying run to second. 2 out and 2 on for Gonzalez, who broke his bat and singled to right to drive in the first Dodger run. And first pitch curveball fouled away.
Nice pitch. Nice backdoor curve to lead him off.
Fastball drilled deep right center. Back goes Granderson. Looking up, and it's out of here. Adrian Gonzalez puts the Dodgers in front with a 3-run homer. Number 18 for Gonzalez. He has a 4 RBI night. And the Dodgers, who were down 3-0, now lead 5-3. Well, the Mets have their car wash. The Dodgers have their bubble machine.
Lawrence Welk wanted the fastball in. Look where it is. Belt high out over the plate. He missed. And I said he's been getting the ball up today. It's the second home run off the ground for Gonzalez. See the reaction from DeGrom. He makes a mistake. He knows it. That ball just kept carrying, didn't it?
Well, DeGrom had not allowed a home run in 67 1/3 innings before he was taken deep in his last start. And now he's given up home runs in back-to-back starts. Only the 7th he's allowed this year in 105 innings. That's awfully good, and that speaks to what you were talking about keeping the ball down, but not there. And Gonzalez took advantage. 87 RBIs now for Adrian Gonzalez, including 4 tonight. Kemp tries to lay off the curveball and does. 1-2. Well, DeGrom had gone 9 straight starts in which he allowed 3 runs or fewer. That ends. Last time he got beat around like this, it was by the Cardinals in St. Louis in the middle of June. He gave up 6 runs in 4 1/3. And what makes it more painful for Jacob is that he had a 3-0 lead in this game. And that'll get the Mets bullpen cranking. Buddy Carlisle is up.
Well, here he is giving up a 3-run home run and giving up the lead, and he hasn't been flustered here. A lot of pitchers can just lose it. Look at that.
I don't think fluster is in his repertoire.
Nope.
Kemp strikes out to end the inning, but Adrian Gonzalez turned this game around with 1 swing. After a 2-out walk to Crawford, Gonzalez cashes in with his 18th of the year. 3-run homer for Gonzalez makes it 5-3 LA after 5. Start something special with a great deal on a Honda now at your Honda dealer. The view from the parking lot. The palm trees.
Very
the
nice.
setting sun.
Out in the Pacific, and there's all the golden gloves. Gold gloves.
Look like Wes Parker gold gloves there.
3 of them.
First baseman Mitt.
How many did you win? 6,
Not as many
7?
as you did.
6?
Not as many as you did. And yet somehow he won that all-time Gold Glove thing. I don't understand.
He was quite a fielder.
Don't be modest. Mets now down 5-3 as they come to bat in the 6th inning. Lucas Duda will lead off. Zach Greinke working with the lead for the first time tonight. And Duda takes a strike. Lucas had a soft single into right center to get the Mets started in the 4th. An error followed. Then Lagares hit a 3-run homer, his first in better than 3 months. And the Mets were off and running. Duda hits one in the air to right. Back goes Kemp to the warning track. Back at the wall. It's out of here. Lucas Duda answers back for the Mets. His 24th home run of the year. I didn't think he got all of that, Keith, and it still went out of the ballpark.
I thought he got it. I'm surprised it didn't go further.
So Duda answers for the Mets to cut the Dodger lead to 5-4. The Mets' second home run of the night.
Hanging slider. A little towards the end. You're right, Gare. Off the top of the fence? Yes, it was.
Just skimmed it out of the ballpark. So Bubbles on one side, car wash on the other. And this one has turned into a bit of a slugfest.
And it's going to be one. It's going to be handed to the bullpens to decide this one.
Here's Travis d'Arnaud, who's 1 for 2. Had a base hit to right, then reached on an error his last time up. So Duda just keeps on expanding his career high. 24 home runs, now 71 runs batted in. Top 10 in the league in both categories. d'Arnaud swings over a slider, 1-1.
We'll watch Greinke's reaction here.
I don't think he was expecting that to go out. So he's given up a pair of bombs tonight, but he still has a 1-run lead. d'Arnaud bounces one foul, 1-2. That's 18 home runs allowed by Greinke this year. Started the night 7th in the National League in ERA. Pitching on 7 days rest because of that sore elbow. There's been no talk about limiting his pitch count tonight. He's only at 75 as he works in the 6th. And d'Arnaud takes a slider off the plate, 2-2. Rick Honeycutt, Dodger pitching coach, keeping a close eye. The Dodgers rotation, which has been a strength, is full of question marks right now. Once you get past Clayton Kershaw and his brilliance, you got Hyun-Jin Ryu sitting on the disabled list right now with a strained glute muscle. You got Greinke trying to deal with whatever severity of his elbow soreness. Dan Herron there has been quite up and down this year. Josh Beckett, who got off to a great start for the Dodgers, is out for the year. So is Paul Maholm. So it's a bit of a slog right now for this Dodger rotation. Little check swing roller, and Greinke easily off the mound, and d'Arnaud will give himself up. 1 out. So here's Lagares, who hit his first home run since the 17th of May. A 3-run shot to left center in the 4th inning, his 3rd of the year. That gave the Mets at the time a 3-0 lead. That has disappeared.
Well, he got himself a changeup. Meant to be away. It sunk back over the inner half down. He golfed it right out of the yard.
He had gone 227 at bats between home runs. Maybe he'll be like Pedro Alvarez tonight. Alvarez hadn't hit one in forever. He hit 2.
Okay, time will tell. We are in the back end of this ball game here.
It's only the 6th inning.
Well, it's the back end. Second half.
Unless we play 15.
Like basketball. It's the second half.
Greinke ahead 0-2, and Lagares hits one out to right, and Kemp is right there. And that's the second out. So two-way after the home run by Duda. And now Matt Dendecker is 0 for 2 tonight. Grounded out and struck out. Now 0 for his last 11. Have you seen a change in Dendecker since the early success he enjoyed when he first came back?
He's pulling too much right now, Gary. He's got to go up the middle. I said it last night. You can see the shortstop, Eris Bell, up the middle. He shouldn't be playing Dendecker up the middle. He should be more straight up.
Dendecker takes the fastball for a strike, 1-1. Gordon gets in front of it, and that retires the side. So the Mets get closer. Lucas Duda's 24th home run of the year, leading off the inning. Cuts the Dodger lead to 5-4. Middle of the sixth in LA. His most convenient bank. Mets at a 3-0 lead. That got away. Adrian Gonzalez's 3-run homer put the Dodgers in front. 5-4 LA as we go to the bottom of the sixth. Jacob deGrom still out there. They'll face Andre Ethier leading off in the home sixth inning. Ethier tripled back in the second inning. deGrom was able to work around that. And then Ethier had an advancing ground out in the fourth inning that led to a run. Takes a strike. Ethier yesterday was questioning his use. He was asked how he's adjusted to his new role, and his response was, well, I don't know what my role is. Nobody said anything to me. Lagares a long way back in the gap, and he runs it down where extra base hits go to die. Off the bat, any other center fielder, it's a double. Not this guy.
And easily gets there.
Just makes everything look so easy.
He just has tremendous range to his left and right. Front, coming in, going back, lateral.
So one long out into the glove of Lagares, who secures more putouts per 9 innings than any center fielder in the game. Here's Arway Barrena, who takes ball one.
Watch Juan, top, middle of your screen. An easy, quick jump. The ball got too much airtime. That's too much airtime for Lagares.
If he doesn't win a Gold Glove this year, it's a crime. I mean, well, Carlos Gomez is a fine center fielder, but he is not Juan Lagares. And you see putouts per 9 innings, far and away the most in the National League.
It'll be curious to see how the voting goes.
You know, there are two things working against Lagares. One is he's not putting up huge offensive numbers,
right,
which sometimes hurts you. Two is he's had a couple of trips to the disabled list this year, so that's cut down on the number of innings he's played. But
that more so hurts him.
Yeah, but you can't watch him and not think he's the best center fielder in the game. Arway Barrena strikes out for the second out of the inning.
Well, there's a lot of light-hitting Gold Glove outfielders. You know, I think of the White Sox center fielder was a Ken Berry.
Yeah.
Yes, he was a terrific fielder, not a great hitter.
What makes it interesting now is, well, two things. One is it used to be that in the outfield you could vote for 3 center fielders. Now you have to vote position by position, right, and that makes it harder for a center fielder to win a Gold Glove than it used to be.
What's your feeling on that? You think it's correct?
I think it's probably correct.
I think so
it's three different positions.
I agree.
I always felt as though it should have been that way.
I agree 100%.
And it's only the last few years that they voted it left, center, and right separately. The other thing is, there are so many more defensive metrics now, and I don't know that they're all as refined as they might be, but there are more numbers for people to look at, and all of those numbers favor Lagares greatly. I mean, defensive runs saved, and we just showed putouts per 9 innings. All those sabermetric defensive numbers, and again, they're not perfect by any means, but they all make Lagares look like exactly what he is, which is head and shoulders over everybody else. Nice bounce back inning for DeGrom as he sets him down 1-2-3. 5-4 Dodgers after 6. Stadium. Mets down by a run. Will send them 8-9-1 in the batting order. Wilmer Flores will lead off, and Jacob deGrom is out on deck to take his turn at bat against Zach Greinke. Greinke's given up 4 runs and 8 hits. One of those runs unearned.
Interesting. How many pitches for deGrom?
I've got him at 85.
Yeah, keep him in the game.
Greinke at 84. So both of them coming back from physical issues, and both pitching into the 7th inning. And Flores thinks about a bunt, takes a curveball for a strike. And there's deGrom on deck. Mets have been putting the ball in play all night. Greinke hasn't walked a batter, and he struck out only 2. Mets have hit a pair of home runs tonight. And Flores takes the ball, 1-1. Well, both bullpens are empty. There's the Dodger bullpen. Do you want anybody up? And Josh Edgen looks like he's about to start throwing.
Doesn't it look like a playground? The bullpen out there.
Just a backyard. Just hanging out. Maybe they should put in a pool. And J.P. Howell, the only lefty in that Dodger bullpen, grabbing his glove. I guess that's who they wanted.
Well, 3 left-handers. Or 2, excuse me.
Flores takes one the other way, and he's got himself a leadoff hit. So Flores, who had been 0 for 5 in the series, gets the Mets a leadoff base runner for the 3rd straight inning. Well, so now DeGrom comes up. He's already 2 for 2 today, a single and a double. You would certainly expect him to be bunting in this spot, but it's not a guarantee.
I think after this, for you Met fans, you're hoping it's a successful sacrifice. That'll be the end of Greinke. I think they're going to, with Granderson and Murphy coming up, they're going to bring in J.P. Howell.
DeGrom doubled to deep left field in the 3rd inning, then singled up the middle in the 5th. Howell, who pitched last night, getting himself ready. DeGrom gives himself up, and the slow curve, that was an odd pitch by Greinke. He was almost charging before he released the pitch. Looked like a guy trying to miss a free throw and get his own rebound. By the way, if you're wondering, the last Met pitcher to have 3 hits in a game, that was Chris Young in Philadelphia. In fact, it was his Mets debut, April of 2011.
I remember that, yes.
Had 3 hits. Well, he's having a great year for Seattle, isn't he? Good for him.
There's certainly been plenty of time in this at bat for Howell to get loose down that bullpen for the Dodgers.
1-0 to DeGrom. Gets the bunt down, but Buterra's going to second and gets the force. The relay not in time.
Nice play.
DeGrom didn't get it far enough away from the plate. And Butera, with a strong arm, guns down Flores.
No hesitation here. Pounces on it like a cat. And that is a doornail. Nice play.
You see Flores looking over his shoulder. Why?
Well, he was not going to get there, and they're going to be a pinch runner at first base with Eric Young.
So now that means DeGrom is done for the night. So they left him in for the bunt, and now they're taking him out. So DeGrom's return to action has come to an end. Eric Young running for him. So DeGrom goes 6 innings, allows 5 runs and 5 hits, a couple of walks, 7 strikeouts, and the Mets will be going to their bullpen in the bottom of the inning. So now the tying run at first with Young. This has pretty much been EY's role lately. Pinch running and pinch hitting, and he goes on the first pitch. Buterra's throw into the runner, and a nice save by Arway Barrena, but Young steals the base.
Well, I tell you what, that throw's on line. Young is out. This ball just kept sunk into the right field side of the bag. If that throw's on line, he's out. Well, nice play by
that would be Arway Barrena.
Thank you.
If
nice
he doesn't
play.
make that play, Young's at third base with the tying run.
Absolutely.
28th steal of the year for Eric. He's been great about coming in and stealing early in counts since he's been relegated to this more marginal role.
Well, they're keeping him in to face Granderson. I don't think they'll keep him in to face Murphy.
Murphy's already got a couple of hits against Greinke tonight. Granderson's 0 for 3. Flied out twice, grounded out. Howell ready to go if needed. Greinke ahead on Granderson 0-2. And he comes inside. Josh Edgin will pitch the bottom of the 7th for New York, with 8, 9, and 1 in the order coming up for the Dodgers. Young the tying run at second with 1 out. And Granderson wouldn't chase. 2-2. Mets have 9 hits. They'll need a 10th to get this game tied.
It's been a struggle for Greinke. He has really been in trouble. Really having to labor every inning.
Well, he hasn't had the strikeouts tonight. He's a guy who averages much more than a strikeout per inning, but only 2 strikeouts tonight against a team that strikes out a lot. So that'll tell you he's not quite at his sharpest, and now trying to hang on to the lead here in the 7th. In what will probably be his final batter. And taking a lot of time. He has really slowed down the pace in this inning. 2-2 to Granderson. He fouls back the fastball. Greinke dialing that one up to 95. That's as hard a pitch as he's thrown all night. So I'm sure smelling the finish line here, trying to let it all hang out. Just has not been able to put hitters away tonight. Granderson, who has struck out 116 times this year, hanging in there. This will be the 7th pitch of the at bat. Oh, and another low 3rd strike call, and Granderson caught looking. 3rd strikeout tonight for Greinke.
So do you walk Daniel Murphy and pitch to David Wright? It's
putting the go-ahead run on base.
Yeah, you don't do that. That was a strike, by the way. If anything, it was knee high. Yep, that's it for Greinke. He's going to bring the left-hander in to face Murphy.
So Greinke finishes with his 3rd strikeout of the night as he gets Granderson. And now with Murphy coming up. And the tying run at second base. Mattingly to the mound. He's not yet made a side of the bullpen. He's got Brian Wilson up alongside Howell. So Greinke might be staying in here.
They're having a big discussion. Who do you want?
That's a very long conversation, and C.B. Buckner is there listening in.
He can break it up right now, too. It's the manager's choice right here. I personally would bring in a left-hander here to face Murph.
Do you suppose they're thinking about walking Murphy or pitching around him to get to Wright?
I would find it hard to believe to walk him. If you pitch around him, you're asking for a lot of trouble. As you said, that's putting the go-ahead run on base.
Well, Murphy's 2 for 3 tonight, and they're going to pitch to him. How carefully they pitch to him, we'll see. The tying run, Young at second with 2 down. Murphy, the National League leader in hits, looking for the tying hit, and they keep it away from him with a changeup for ball 1. Well, Howell, the left-hander, looks like he's ready to go. Brian Wilson just pawing at the mound out there. One 1-0 to Murphy, and he comes inside. So he went away with the changeup, inside with the fastball. Now it's 2-0, and now they're going to walk him intentionally. Yep. So something that you just never would have seen in the past.
Right.
But it makes perfect sense for the Dodgers right now.
And I guess Greinke is going to be the guy going after Wright here.
Unless they bring in Wilson.
I Garrett, we had talk. I saw Wilson pitch on the off day. It was a game. Remember, they're having problems televising games locally here in Los Angeles, but it was an ESPN game. And I saw Brian Wilson pitching, and he is a shadow of himself. It was noticeably favoring his shoulder, not throwing hard at all. It was painful to watch.
Well, it gives you an idea just what's going on with David Wright right now, that they would walk Murphy intentionally to get to him. Not the first time we've seen it, but certainly still a rarity. But David has a chance to turn the tables. 2 out and 2 on. Mets down by a run in the 7th. David's 0 for 3 tonight. Twice is grounded into double plays to end innings.
Boy, Greinke's just taking all kinds of time. It's a human rain delay here. It's a big out for him. It's his last. He knows it's his last batter.
And Buterra's going to go out for a conversation, and then Greinke waves him away. Says, I got you. I know what we're going to do. Now Greinke's ready to go. And Wright waves at the slider for strike 1. Oh, 2.
You see the look on David here after the swing and miss, the frustration. His bat's not covering it. He's not getting to the outside pitch.
Young, the tying run at second. Murphy, the go-ahead run at first. They walked him. Very rarely do you walk and put the go-ahead run on base. Greinke ahead on Wright, 0-2. That one bounces away from Buterra far enough for Young to go to third. Murphy stays put. Good base running by Eric Young to move up a base. Wild pitch charge to Greinke.
He wants to bounce the hard curve in the dirt and see if David would fish.
Well, another one of those could bring the tying run home. One and 2 to David Wright. Inning over. This is the summer of David Wright's discontent.
Another breaking ball out in front.
7th inning stretch. 5 At your Hyundai dealer now through September 2nd. Pedro Alvarez homered twice. Pirates beat the Brewers for the second straight day 10-2 to pull within 4 games of the top. The Blue Jays beat the Rays in 10 innings on a Jose Reyes walk-off hit. Joe Madden played the game under protest when a challenge was allowed when it should not have been. That was Bob Davidson. We'll see how that goes. And the big series continues in Oakland. The A's won last night to pull within a game. John Lester on the mound tonight. They're in the 7th now, with Oakland leading the Angels 1-0. Vic Black comes out of the Mets bullpen as we go to the bottom of the 7th.
Well, his numbers are every bit as good as they look. He's been fantastic.
He worked in the Wednesday game in Oakland, gave up an unearned run, partly his responsibility. He walked a couple of guys. He'll face Miguel Rojas, the number 8 hitter. Zach Greinke is out on deck at the moment. We'll see whether he actually bats.
Probably with a bunt if the 8th hitter gets on, much like what Terry did last inning with DeGrom.
Rojas is 0 for 2. And he takes the first pitch fastball for a strike. J.P. Howell staying busy in the bullpen. So DeGrom in his return to action went 6 innings, allowed 5 runs, 5 hits, walked 2, struck out 7, and gave up that big home run to Adrian Gonzalez that put the Dodgers in front. Second home run in as many starts given up by DeGrom after his long homerless streak. Josh Edgins staying busy in the Mets bullpen. The Dodgers, by the way, have an all right-handed bench tonight. They put every available lefty in the lineup, and a half swing by Rojas, who went around 1-2. So they've got Puig on the bench. They've got Justin Turner on the bench. Scott Van Slyke. All of whom started last night. A.J. Ellis, their number 1 catcher. So that certainly will affect strategy on both sides. One and 2 from Black to Rojas. This is away, 2-2.
Looks like Vic got himself a little buzz cut there.
Isn't that going against the reliever's mantra these days? Isn't it the more hair the better? Two to Rojas, and he misses with the curveball. 3-2. By the way, DeGrom's ERA tonight went up from 2.87 to 3.13 with those 5 runs. First time in 10 starts that DeGrom has given up more than 3.
Well, the 3-run home run got him to Gonzalez, and that was in the 5th, and that is the difference in the game right now.
How would you assess what you saw overall, though?
I think after missing 2 starts, I like what I see.
3-2. Rojas hits one back up the middle, and the Dodgers have a leadoff hit. And so Greinke will stay in the bunt.
I thought DeGrom threw well. Got the ball up for missing 2 starts, a little rusty. He made a mistake to the big guy, the big bat in the line, the big power bat, and Gonzalez.
Greinke had a base hit his last time up, a single through the hole into left. 3 sacrifices this year to go with 8 hits, and he punts that one foul. B. Gordon waiting on deck.
Got a charge. He's squared around. He's here to get the ball down.
And Black spins Greinke around.
The ball will bite you.
Fortunate to get that hand out of the way. Rojas at first and nobody out. Dodgers up by a run in the bottom of the 7th. And Greinke gets the bunt down. Black lets it go to Duda. And they get the out at first. 3-4 on the sacrifice, moving Rojas to second. And that might be Greinke's final act of the night.
I think due to calls off Black there. That's why Black pulled his arm, pulled his glove out of the way.
And that's going to be all for Black. Terry Collins on his way out with the left-hand hitters Gordon, Crawford, and Gonzalez all coming up. Josh Edgen will get the call from the bullpen. So Black faces two hitters, gives up a single and a sacrifice, and he'll exit. Call to the bullpen brought to you by McDonald's. There's something for everyone to love at McDonald's. Josh Edgen coming in, 5-4 LA in the 7th. We'll be right back.
Hey, Dodger fans, try and solve.
America's most convenient bank. Lefties are hitting just 155 against Josh Edgen this year.
Josh has not been scored upon in this month. That's over 10 games. He's been used sparingly, actually just perfectly by Terry.
D. Gordon, the batter, takes a slider for a strike. Gordon is 0 for 3 tonight. Struck out twice against Jacob deGrom.
David Wright in at third base corner in case of potential bunt. Try to bunt for a base hit. He's got that covered.
You got another left-hand hitter on deck in Crawford, another behind him in Gonzalez. So this is Edgen's spot. Trying to keep this a one-run game. Rojas at second and 1 out in the 7th. And Gordon hits it sharply, and Murphy can't make the play, and everybody's safe. A sharp one-hopper to the backhand. Murphy got the glove on it, couldn't squeeze it, and Gordon's aboard.
Well, Gordon just continues to impress against left-handers. That's going to be a base hit right there. This ball's ripped. Murph knocks it down, saves a run.
Waiting for a scoring decision. Scott Van Slyke is going to bat for Carl Crawford. Van Slyke started last night against the left-hander and went 1 for 4. So Van Slyke bats for Crawford with runners at first and third and 1 out. The Dodgers with a chance to add to their 5-4 lead. Crawford walked his last 2 times up. Went 0 for 1 on the night. Mets of the infield to double play depth.
4 for 19 as a pinch hitter with a home run and 3 RBIs.
He's got serious power. Van Slyke's only had 167 at bats this year. He has 9 home runs. They did score that a base hit for Gordon.
I agree.
Tough play, but one that Murph certainly would have liked to have made. And Van Slyke takes the fastball low and in, ball 1. Adrian Gonzalez has already driven in 4 runs tonight, waits on deck.
Check swing tapper. That's going to stay fair. And Edgin loses the ball. A run is in. Gordon goes to third. Edgin had no play at the plate. It was just hit too slowly. And instead of getting the shore out at first, he tossed it away.
You're right, Gary. Absolutely no play at home. You've got to get the out at first base. And there's another error for the Mets.
They're going to score at a base hit for Van Slyke, give him an RBI, and then an error on Edgin to allow Gordon to go to third. Well, Met pitchers have not always fielded well this year. Edgin had that play in San Diego to end a game where he wrestled the ball to a standstill. Here's Gonzalez, and he cracks one to right center. That'll get a run in. Gordon tags at third. He'll trot on in. And that makes it 7-4 LA.
5th RBI of the night for Adrian Gonzalez.
A single, a 3-run homer, and now a sacrifice fly for the Dodger first baseman. He now has 88 RBIs for the year.
Hanging slide ball. And it just looks like the Mets just find ways to help the other team win.
This is a game where the Mets had a 3-0 lead. But Gonzalez has had a big hand in turning the game completely around. Now it's Kemp, who's 1 for 3 on the night. And he takes a sinker for a strike. The inning began with the number 8 hitter Miguel Rojas singling up the middle against Vic Black. Greinke got the bunt down. Gordon with that hot shot to the backhand that Murphy couldn't play. And then the little dribbler by Van Slyke getting a run in. Howell and Wilson back up in the Dodger bullpen. The error by Edgin allowing Gordon to get to third, and that cost the Mets on the sacrifice fly. 0-2 to Kemp. Buddy Carlisle and J. Reese Familia both up in the Mets bullpen. Van Slyke at first and 2 out. Edgin trying to put another ugly Mets inning to bed. He strikes out Kemp. Inning over, but not before the Dodgers tack on a pair. Another unearned run against the Mets. 7-4 LA. Field Saturday, August 30th, when the Mets take on the Phillies at 7:10. The first 20,000 fans will receive a Curtis Granderson bobblehead, courtesy of Gold's Horseradish. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. Scott Van Slyke, who had that soft RBI single, stays in the game in left field. And J.P. Howell in for the second straight night. Would you not call that soft?
That's an understatement. Anyway, here's a left-hander right here. He's had a terrific year. Came in last night's ball game and walked the first batter on 4 pitches. But somehow he's Houdini. He's done this all year, evidently. Look at the walks to innings pitched. It's too many walks. But he gets out of innings.
Last night he walked Campbell but struck out Granderson. Lucas Duda leads off for the Mets in the 8th inning. Duda hit his 24th home run of the year his last time up, leading off the 6th inning against Zach Greinke. Well, Greinke was something of a magician tonight. He gave up 4 runs, 3 of them earned on 9 hits over 7 innings. Gave up 2 home runs, walked 1, that was intentional, struck out 4, threw a wild pitch, and after all that, he has a chance to get a victory and avoid a 3-game personal losing streak, which Greinke has not had since 2010. Duda tonight is 2 for 3. He had a single to right center in the 4th and scored a run, then hit the home run in the 6th. Lucas now with 24 home runs, 71 runs driven in. And in an offense that has stagnated, he has been a big bright spot. Gets jammed and flies one out to center. Chasing Ethier back, and he makes the catch. Tell you what, doesn't matter if he gets jammed, does it?
He's a strong man.
He really is. That ball carried, and it doesn't usually carry at night in L.A.
Too much airtime. Ethier runs it down.
That's going to be the only man for Howell to face, with Darno and Lagares coming up. They'll bring in the right-hander. So 1 batter affair for J.P. Howell. He'll take his exit. Call to the bullpen is brought to you by McDonald's. There's something for everyone to love at McDonald's. 7-4 Dodgers in the 8th. We'll be right back. Play here in L.A. tomorrow. Bartolo Colon will make his return to the mound against Kevin Correa. Then the Mets go home to play 3 with the Braves and 3 with the Phillies starting on Tuesday night.
Well,
Brian Wilson on to pitch for the Dodgers.
Former Giant closer, Tommy John's surgery, the Illustrated Man.
Ralph Ellison?
No,
that was the Invisible Man.
Yes, it was Ray Bradbury.
Ray Bradbury, very nice. Travis d'Arnaud leads off, or is the first man up against Wilson, and he hits it sharply down to third. 1 hopper handled by Rojas, and he throws him out. So 1 curveball by Brian Wilson, and he gets the second out of the inning.
I watched Wilson pitch the other night during the off day. I was at Morton's having a nice little dinner on the off day, and this game was on the game was on ESPN, so they had the Dodger game on. And it was really painful to watch him pitch. It was just such a shadow of the pitcher he used to be.
Wilson now 32 years old and pitching on the other side of the Dodger-Giant rivalry. Juan Lagares, a 3-run homer back in the 4th inning, gave the Mets an early lead in this game, which is long since gone. And Wilson quickly ahead in the count 0-2. Wilson used to be a 4-seam guy, threw very hard. Now he's much more of a cutter pitcher.
He is just, he used to throw bullets, Garrett.
Now Henry Mejia on call on the Mets bullpen. He hasn't pitched in a few days, so even with the Mets behind in this game, looks like we'll see him in the bottom of the 8th. 1-2 to Lagares, and he hits one toward the middle. That's nice. A base hit. So Lagares with his second hit of the night, a 2-out single. Now Matt Dendecker, 0 for 3 tonight, 0 for his last 12. Looking to snap that schneid and get the tying run to the plate with Wilmer Flores on deck. Lagares at first with 2 out. That's now with 10 hits on the night. Still 3 runs shy. And Dendecker takes Lone away, 1-1.
It's just to watch Wilson pitch and just see the velocity of where it's at now to where it used to be.
Misses with that cutter, 2-1. Well, it's got to be very hard, Keith, when you're a guy who has been as dominant as Wilson was in his career to come back and now be more of a finesse guy.
I've seen it over my career. You know, pitchers, they hurt their arms and they're never the same, and they try to come back. They're never the pitcher they used to be. You got a friend out there, a teammate. It's tough to watch, and it's the enemy. It's, you know, Wayne Twitchell comes to mind for me. Wayne Twitchell for the Phillies. He threw so hard, had a hard slider, hurt his arm, and was just a shadow of himself. Well, it didn't last very long.
Dendecker lines one into right center for a base hit. Lagares will go first to third. Cut off deep by Ethier. Dendecker going for 2, and he makes it safely.
Boy, a good thing he made it, too. Down by 3 runs. I don't want to make the 3rd out with the tying run coming to bat. But Dendecker snaps that 0 for 12 with his 4th double of the year. And the Mets have 2nd and 3rd 2 out, and Flores coming up.
Nice hitting right there. And I'm sure it was a breaking ball. I think Ethier just kind of didn't think that Dendecker would challenge him. And he was right out of the box. Never hesitated. Plays in front of him, made his own choice.
Better throw, might have been a close play. Rick Honeycutt's going to jog out to the mound. They've got Kenley Jansen, their closer, up in the bullpen, but not coming in, at least not right now. You got Flores at the plate. Neuenhuis has come out on deck to be a pinch hitter if Flores can keep the inning going. Howell got the first out here in the 8th, getting Duda on a fly ball. Wilson's first pitch, Darno bounced out, but now a single from Lagares and a double for Dendecker. And all of a sudden, the Mets with the tying run at the plate, and Jansen is going to go to work. Jansen's already had 3 4-out saves this year. Wilson is trying to spare him the need for one tonight.
I tell you what, I would not. The way he's thrown, I would not leave him in here. This is a big gamble.
Flores had a base hit his last time up, a single to right field, 1 for 3 on the night. 2 in scoring position for Flores. And Wilmer lays off the cutter, ball 1. Neuenhuis on deck to pinch hit. Lagares standing at third and Dendecker at second. And Flores fouls it off.
Hanging slider right there. Look at this. Oh, right down the middle.
A ball and a strike to Flores. And Wilmer lays off. Cutter after cutter after cutter.
It's just a different pitcher, and it's like stark difference. Boy, Mattingly's really rolling the dice here.
Two-one from Wilson, and Flores lays off. It trickles behind Butera, but Lagares didn't get a good read on it, and he'll stay put. Don't want to take any chances here, down by 3 runs.
3-1 count. And that play has got to be made by Butera there. I don't know what he was thinking. Second and third.
It's like he was coming out of his crouch to make a throw to second. You see the shortstop Arway Barreno went in there.
They were going to try a pickoff.
Yep. And that's why he mishandled it. Now it's 3-1 to Flores. And Wilmer bounces one down to third. Rojas has it. And Wilson finds his way out of trouble in the 8th. Mets leave 2 in scoring position. They've stranded 7 tonight. 7-4 Dodgers in the 8th. Local Tri-State Kia retailers. Visit TriStateKiaDealers.com to learn more. Henry Mejia will come on to get an inning of work as we go to the bottom of the 8th.
Well, Henry has not pitched in more than a few days.
Not since Monday, the last game of the homestand.
So first appearance for Henry.
And trying to turn things around. He's given up home runs in each of his last 2 appearances after not giving up a home run in better than 2 months. Javier Baez took him deep into the second deck on Monday at Citi Field. The day before, Starlin Castro hit an opposite field home run that snapped a 1-1 tie in the ninth. So these have not been good times for Mejia, who's been battling a host of small hurts. Most recently was unavailable in Oakland on Wednesday because his back acted up. And this is going to be a concern with Henry moving forward. If he wants to be the full-time closer for this team, he's got to be able to keep himself on the mound. Andre Ethier leads off in the home 8th inning. And he takes a changeup low and away for ball 1. Ethier a triple back in the 2nd inning. Since then has grounded out and fly deep to center. The ball that Lagares ran down deep in the gap. Arroyo Barrena on deck. The Mets 4 runs, 11 hits. The Dodgers 7 runs and 8 hits. A big night for Adrian Gonzalez, who's driven in 5 runs with a single, home run, and sacrifice fly. Mejia, who was so electric after taking over the closer's job, hitting a rut in his season, and it certainly raises the conversation, Keith, about what the Mets are going to do going forward with the closer spot. Whether Mejia will have that job next year, whether J. Reese Familia might inherit it, Vic Black, Bobby Parnell coming back from Tommy John surgery.
Parnell, there's going to be an open season for the closer's job. The concern with Mejia is, can he last with the wear and tear of a season? He's been a guy that's Tommy John. He's been a guy that every bit of effort goes into every pitch.
Ethier fussing with C.B. Buckner about that last strike.
You know, Parnell comes back from surgery like a lot of guys and throws just as well. You know, they're going to give him a look.
Of course, the question with Parnell is, will he be ready opening day next year? The likelihood is no. I think the Mets will go slow with him. Murphy to his left and throws out Ethier one away. But they have so many other options. I mean, Familia and Black have certainly taken major steps forward this year, and all these guys profile as potential closers.
They do. The one thing that worries me about Familia is that he's got that herky-jerky motion, and he can get a little bit wild sometimes. He still needs some honing. Now, we know one thing: he's got guts. So that's #1 quality for a closer or any pitcher. That's what you look for. And Familia, he's got big guts. He's solid.
Arroyo Barrena takes the strike.
So we got a whole month of season left here.
Well, and I think that will be part of the proving ground, won't it? I mean, obviously not Parnell, but the other guys all have a chance to stake their claim.
Remember that Mejia is an unknown quantity now, and he's been with this season pitching more. They're going to be more familiarity. He is a breaking ball pitcher. He's got breaking stuff. He's got the natural runner. Hitters are going to catch on, and he's going to have to adjust.
Of course, Henry's going to have surgery on that hernia when the season is over. But, right from the start of spring training, he's had, I can't even remember them all, but he had the bunions on his foot.
Yes.
He's had a calf problem. He's had the back problem. He's had the hernia issue. Right. There have been a couple others that I've probably forgotten. But I wonder sometimes, because you'll remember that, Henry made no bones about the fact he wanted to be a starter, and they gave him the opportunity to be a starter. Pitched great in spring training, won the job. Took the 5th starter's job into the season. He always felt as though he got hurt with Tommy John surgery because he was a reliever, and he had to get over the mental hurdle of being a reliever and not fearing getting hurt. And he seemed to embrace the role. But now lately, it's these little things that cropped up. You wonder how much of that is almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, that he was so worried about being hurt as a reliever that these little things are cropping up.
I think it was an adjustment for him to want to go into the bullpen, and it was a very wise decision to make him a closer, because that's like being the cleanup hitter in a batting order. If you're going to put someone in the bullpen and you're the closer, you're the star.
Off the end of the bat, and Murphy with another chance throws out Arroyo Barrena, 2 out.
But you mentioned all that series of maladies that have affected Mejia this year. That's all reason for the Met front office and staff to say, okay, well, you can never have enough pitching. Parnell comes back. You can never have enough in the bullpen. There's going to be wear and tear in the course of a season. Guys are going to go down.
Well, I think that has certainly been the approach that the Mets have taken. There have been so many calls for them to use their depth of young pitching talent to trade for a hitter, and they might do that in the offseason, but they're being very protective of their wealth when it comes to their pitching, and wisely so. I mean, you've seen it already over the last couple of years, not just with the Mets, but with so many teams, the fragility of pitching.
And I think Henry's had himself a nice season. He's just going through a little patch right now. And there's a whole month of season where he can turn it around.
Butera with an ugly swing, and it's 0-2.
So he's just given up some home runs, but I think all in all, for him going in and being the closer, he's done a terrific job.
Looking to have himself a clean inning here in the bottom of the 8th. Ahead on Butera, 0-2. And he pops it up. Flores waiting for it. And a 1-2-3 inning for Henry Mejia. Mets will come up in the 9th inning with 9-1-2 in the order, due up, trailing 7-4. Braves, and you can catch it on Pix 11. That's Wednesday at 7 p.m. The Mets and the Braves right here on New York's Pix 11. 9th inning at Dodger Stadium. And the closer, Kenley Jansen, bids for his 37th save.
36 of 40. That ranks 4th in the National Leagues in saves. 83 strikeouts, over 52 and a third. That's 3rd amongst NL relievers. He has been fabulous. Has given up only 2 runs in his last 22 and 2/3. Art thrower.
And he'll throw cutter after cutter after cutter, a la Mariano Rivera. It's been his stock in trade since he came to the big leagues. In fact, if you remember, he got his first big league save against the Mets. It was back in 2010.
He's a big guy.
Was the full-time closer 2 years ago. Native of Curacao, 26 years old. Kirk Neuenhuis will be the pinch hitter. This will be Neuenhuis's first plate appearance since he hurt his neck. Kept him out of the last game in Oakland on Wednesday. Neck feeling a little bit better. He was announced as a pinch hitter last night, but never got to the plate. And Kirk takes one in the dirt for ball 1. Neuenhuis, then Granderson and Murphy for the Mets in the 9th. Again, the Mets led 3-0 after the Lagares 3-run homer in the 4th. Dodgers got 2 in the bottom of the 4th and a 3-run homer from Adrian Gonzalez to take the lead in the 5th, and they've been in front ever since. Ball and a strike to New and Ice. Jansen, the fourth Dodger pitcher of the night, trying to save it for Zach Greinke, who went 7 tonight after having his start pushed back a couple of days. Wasn't great, but good enough. And cutter down low, 2-1. Jacob deGrom started for the Mets after 2 weeks on the disabled list. Gave up a home run to Gonzalez. That is the difference in this game. Charged with 5 runs and 5 hits over 6 innings. Be interesting to hear the postmortems from Jacob about his outing tonight. Too high, and Jansen falls behind New and Ice, 3-1. Jansen, not a guy who walks many. 15 walks in 52 innings. 15 walks to go with 83 strikeouts. 14.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. Three-one coming to New and Ice, and he fouls one off his leg. Burke's done a nice job as a pinch hitter, 7 for 21. He's made a nice adjustment to the part-time role. David Wright would be 4th up in the inning. He would love to get another crack at it after a miserable night so far. 3-2, and New and Ice breaks his bat, bloops one down the line. That's a base hit. He'll head for second and make it safely with a pinch hit double. Well, he broke his bat and placed it just right on that cutter. This takes us to our play of the game, brought to you by the 2014 Mazda 3 with seamless connectivity. Dodgers turning the dig double play. Great turn by Gordon and an unbelievable stretch by Gonzalez to turn it over. Here's Granderson, who's 0 for 4. Granderson has flied out twice, grounded out, and struck out. So the Mets need one more base runner to get the tying run to the plate here in the ninth. They've had opportunities the last couple of innings against the Dodger bullpen, but unable to cash in. And Jansen, throwing the rare straight fastball, gets ahead on Granderson, 0-2.
Fastball up.
Granderson hits it out to center field. Ethier has it lined up, though. New and Ice will take third. That's the first out of the inning. So now 1 out, New and Ice at third, and here's Murphy, who's 2 for 3. Last time up in the 7th inning, Mets had the tying run at third with 2 out, and they walked Murphy intentionally to pitch to right, and that paid off for the Dodgers. Wright will get another crack. He's on deck. Murphy will hoping to get on base to get David to the plate as the tying run. And Murph takes up and away for ball 1. Mets are 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position tonight. Murphy had a hit with a runner in scoring position in the 5th. DeGrom was on second, but he got held at third on Murphy's head, and the Mets did not score in that inning. So there have been plenty of chances for the Mets tonight, and they have bypassed a good number of them. The game in Oakland has gone to the bottom of the 8th. A's and Angels tied 1-1. Oakland win tonight, and those two teams would be tied for first place. 1-1 from Jansen. Foul back. 1-2. Meanwhile, the Cardinals got a run in the 12th inning in Philadelphia. St. Louis 6, Philadelphia 5. Phillies batting in the bottom of the 12th against Trevor Rosenthal. If the Cardinals win, they'll be just a half game behind the Brewers, who lost tonight.
Cardinals find a way to hang in there.
It's amazing. 1-2 coming to Murphy. Slashed, just foul.
don't know why pitchers want to pitch Murph away with 2 strikes.
The Reds shut out the Braves tonight 1-0 behind Mike Leake. So the Braves, who had been red hot, fall 7 games behind Washington again. 1-2 coming. And Murphy fouls it away. 97 from Jansen. That's the hardest pitch he's thrown tonight. Again the 1-2. And again a foul ball. From breaking ball that time. Neuenhuis at third and 1 out. 7th pitch of the at-bat coming from Jansen to Murphy. And Dingle goes down on the fastball. 2 out.
That was a wicked cutter inside. And I was waiting for him to do that. Look at Patera set up in. Can't put it in a better spot.
So the Mets are down to their final out of the night. And a chance for David Wright to extend the game on a night where he has had himself a dreadful night at the plate. 0 for 4, 2 double plays, and a big strikeout in the 7th. If Wright could get on, they could get Duda to the plate as the tying run. David goes after the first one, 0-1. Wright is 0 for 4 in his career against Jansen. Oh, 2. Mets are down to their final strike. 0-2 coming to Wright.
Struck him out and the ball game is over. Kenley Jansen strikes out the final 2 hitters to save it for Zach Greinke. Adrian Gonzalez with 5 RBIs. And the Dodgers come from 3 runs down to beat Jacob deGrom and the Mets 7-4. And LA has won the first 2 games of this series.
Well, the big damage done. And the Mets out hit the Dodgers 12-8. However, it's all about the runs. The big night was the first baseman, Adrian Gonzalez, the All-Star Gold Glove. There's Don Mattingly, very happy. His first baseman went 2 for 3 today. 3-run home run, 5 RBIs. He was the guy that was the Met killer tonight. What a night he had.
So deGrom's 5-game winning streak comes to an end as he comes back from the disabled list and takes the loss. Game summary brought to you by Nissan. Shop ChooseNissan.com. Greinke, who had it start pushed back a couple of days because of a sore elbow, pitched well enough for 7 innings to get his 13th win. Gonzalez with the 3-run homer that turned